Verdugo Mountains of Glendale and Burbank, if you are not familiar. Some of the highest peaks in the LA basin, named after the Verdugo family, one of the original landowning families of Pueblo de Los Angeles. That's some non-movie history for you. Now we got our friends and neighbors over at Warner Brothers. You can see the iconic WB shield on the side of one of their sound stages. What is a sound stage, you might be asking yourselves? Well, you'll find out momentarily here aboard the tour. And we have the Toluca Lake Golf Course and Country Club, which was actually co-founded by Hollywood legend Charlie Chaplin. Believe it or not, in the early days of Hollywood, actors were not so well thought of, and so they needed their own place to go, and that was one of the ones that cropped up, and it remains to this day. And of course, right below us, we have the world-famous Universal Studios backlot. So much history to cover, folks. Can't wait to get to it. Now we're just waiting for the doors to close. We're just waiting for the thumbs up for more movie magic. And it looks like we have gotten that here. Thumbs up, folks. Now do me a favor, if you got your 3D glasses, you don't need to put them on right now, but put them on. We're gonna do something fun, something corny, slightly outdated, but nonetheless on theme with Universal. You got them on? Some people in Tram Car 1 do not have their glasses on. I'm talking to you, Modelo Charlotta. Put them on. You got them on? Congratulations, everybody. You are now all members of the Blues Brothers. We got a fully charged electric tram, a tram full of guests, 400 acres to cover. We're wearing 3D glasses, and there are no 3D elements. It's time to hit it, Glenn. Speaking of which, folks, please give a hearty round of applause to our driver, Glenn. It's amazing. You're gonna love him. Hey, do me another favor, cool guy. Take off your 3D glasses. Fun fact, you're in the real world, which is already in 3D. So you only need it twice on the tour. King Kong and Fast and Furious. Other than that, we are in true blue, real life 3D, so you don't need them. But hey, we got a lot to get to. Here to help me kick things off is our good friend, whom you probably know from his stint on Saturday Night Live, as well as The Tonight Show. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, hey there. You made it. Welcome to the Universal Studio Tour. I'm Jimmy Fallon. I'll be making sure that you get through this experience in one piece. You've got the very best guide.
His name is Ryan.
And the greatest driver.
His name is Glenn.
They're the best. I love that. Even though
You're super cool guy, Ryan.
owes me $5.
What?
I know you guys are excited to get on the tour, but first, a few safety rules.
Okay, Jimmy, we'll get to that private financial matter later. Also, it's called Venmo, my guy. Either way, he is right. We do have some safety rules. So, throughout the entirety of the tour, folks, if you have a medical emergency, if you have any sound or video issues, or if you drop something of value off the side of the tram, please reach up and pull down that red emergency cord, which runs along the center of the ceiling of the tram, and I'll be back to help you as soon as it is safe to do so. Otherwise, throughout the entirety of the tour, do me a favor, real solid, would you? Please remain seated with your arms and legs inside the tram at all times, and please remember, the studio is private property, so if you do drop something of value or you just cannot wait to use the restroom, please do not hop on the tram. You think that would be obvious, but to many, it is not. No smoking on the tour. Again, you think that would be obvious, but to many, it is not. That includes vaping, by the way. And hey, please do not use any selfie sticks. Not so obvious as the other two, but nonetheless, very important for the safety of yourselves and those around you that you refrain from using them. And finally, be advised, this tour features loud noises, sudden tram movements, fire effects, many, many water effects, and a heck of a lot of fun. Hey, we've been ascending down the Universal timeline. We opened our doors March 15th, 1915, and on that day, our founder Carl Lendley said he wanted to create the strangest city in the world. And we are, in fact, our own city here, folks. We got our own zip code, our own post office, our own sheriff station, our own fire station. Give a wave to that handsome man right there putting out fires with that mustache. It's true. Not to be confused with a leftover set, folks, from the feature backdraft poster on your right for reference, if you don't know what I'm talking about. Although, to be fair, many of the sets, many of the locations that you're going to see on the tour today have actually been in your favorite films, television shows, countless commercials and music videos. Because, I want to be honest with you, you may have gotten a giant donut in Springfield, you may have discovered the secret life of pets, perhaps you've been enchanted by the wizarding world, and I'm going to guess a fair few of you have ventured down that green pipe and hung out with a couple of Italian plumbers who love mushrooms. But you are now aboard the world-famous Universal Studios tour, the crown jewel, namesake attraction upon which this entire operation is predicated. Folks, you may think you're at a world-class theme park, but you are in fact at one of the world's largest, busiest, and oldest production facilities, which also happens to be a world-class theme park. We have 109 years of Hollywood history under our belts, and it is my job, my honor, as your studio guide, to be your emissary through that over a century of history. So, without further ado, welcome to the front lot. No, we're not in the back lot quite yet. You can't have a back lot without a front lot. But here we are. And up top, look to your left. Just look at these sound stages. These are large, insulated warehouses of wonder. You're going to see a lot of these on the tour today. And these are where filmmakers go to get the greatest degree of control possible over the elements so they can create virtually any environment that the script demands. Now, putting that fancy textbook definition into action that you may or may not have understood, just wait, actually look through those elephant doors. They actually have these open, not always do we get a view inside of what they look like, but truly they are large, insulated warehouses of wonder. And, you know, putting that fancy textbook definition into action, we're talking classics like Dracula, Frankenstein, Scarface, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Jurassic Park, the shower scene from Psycho, all have been filmed within these hallowed walls. And you know something? You seem like a really cool group, so I'm gonna let you in on some Hollywood insider information. Just please promise me you will not tell anybody I told you this. If it's found out that I did, I might get fired. Are you ready? Filmmaking is fake. Shocker. I'm gonna let that sink in for a second. It's true. It's illusion. It's sleight of hand. It's one big elaborate magic trick. And these sound stages, they are just one of the tools in the bag of tricks that filmmakers use to cast a spell, or what we call suspend your disbelief. That is to say, for 90 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours if you're Peter Jackson, 4 if you're watching the extended cuts of his Lord of the Rings movies, which you totally should, by the way. But essentially, you are plucked from our reality, placed into a presented one where hopefully you meet characters who look and sound different from you. So by the time those end credits roll, you're that much better of a person. And that, folks, is the real magic of the movies. Famed critic Roger Ebert called the movies an empathy machine. And I happen to agree with him. It's all about people and generating understanding for them. And to understand us here at Universal Studios Hollywood is to see these sound stages. You're going to see trucks, trailers, that gentleman in a backpack. Where is he going? I don't know. He looks very important. But all of this is a part of the rich fabric, the tapestry that makes Universal Studios Hollywood a living, breathing production facility. Because some of you may have been to Universal Studios Orlando. Heck, maybe you've been lucky enough to go to Universal Studios Japan. And in both cases, you may have noticed they have more rides than we do here. I can't lie to you about that. But never forget, Universal Studios Hollywood is the only Universal Studios in the entire world that actually has a studios. We are the foundation, the bedrock, the OG, from which the entire Universal brand comes from. And hey, even though you may associate us as a mecca of the movies, we're just as well renowned for our history of television production. In fact, we are smack dab in the middle of what we call TV Alley. And the sound stages on your right, they've been home to some of the most classic of television shows. Seinfeld, The Jeffersons, Murder, She Wrote, Golden Girls, as well as some recent hits you may have watched recently, like Hacks, Homecoming, Good Girls, The Good Place, and Peacock's Bel Air. And it's crazy to think about because we live in the age of streaming with, you know, the countless hours of content spread across the ever-expanding array of streaming services, which we will never fully consume in our natural-born lifetimes. But consider the fact that in the early days of TV, movie studios around Hollywood hated it. They thought TV was a joke. They thought the TV set was basically a child's toy, and they forbade all television production on their studio lots, except for Universal. We were the only major movie studio in the early days of TV to embrace it. And of course, we've continued in that tradition to this very day. And when you talk about a TV show, a commercial, a music video, and of course, a movie, you can break any one of those down into 3 distinct phases of production: pre-production, production, and post-production. And that pre- and post-production work, it's office work, which happens to take place in these buildings on your left. These production bungalows are where some of the biggest names in Hollywood have their production company offices, where they get all the nuts and bolts, all the logistics into place before they step onto set. And then once everything is shot on location, they come back here to package it all up and get it out to you. But in the golden age of Hollywood, we're talking the early, mid-20th century or so, icons like Jimmy Stewart, Paul Newman, Elizabeth Taylor, Marilyn Monroe, and right there in Bungalow 5195, you may see the familiar visage of Alfred Hitchcock, the inimitable British filmmaker who's responsible for such cinematic landmarks as Vertigo, The Birds, North by Pacific Northwest, Rear Window, and Psycho, which we may or may not get to later on the tour. But all those names I mentioned used to live at one point or another in the bungalows as apartments. Universal used to give them to the stars while they were under contract back in the day, which was really handy because it meant they could spend the night, get a great night of beauty sleep, wake up in the morning looking fresh-faced to mosey on over to whichever sound stage they were needed on for the day. Crucially, having beaten all of that LA morning commuter traffic in the process. All my fellow Angelinos know LA morning commuter traffic is clinically proven to prematurely age you. Not so good for movie stars, but hey, we've left the front lot, folks, and we've officially entered the back lot. Take a quick look at your left at our New York Street, one of the most often used streets in all of Hollywood. In fact, it is so often used that we can't go inside of it today, but nonetheless, we have entered what we call our metro sets. These sets are tailor-made to look like virtually any major metropolitan area in the entire world. Now, many of you probably are aware that making movies, making television shows, heck, even a 15-second commercial can cost in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So, studios, producers really love to save money where they can. In fact, that's a big reason why the WGA and SAG-AFTRA were recently on strike. But, having said that, oftentimes they cut costs when it comes to traveling, because you've traveled either from outside of California or even outside the United States. You know what I'm talking about. It was not cheap getting right here today. So instead of going to far-flung locations within or outside the United States like Hong Kong, Paris, Chicago, New York, or London, they'll come right here to our metro sets where really it looks just like the real thing with some creative camera angles, maybe some CGI. And sir, what are you cooking over there? That smells so delicious. Can I have some? Okay, we'll talk later. Either way, we're in the middle, folks, of London Square. Now, you've probably seen London Square in shows like The Mindy Project, Netflix's Never Have I Ever, Will and Grace when the reboot happened a few years ago, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Marvel's Agent Carter, and for my fellow millennials out there, Austin Powers in The Spy Who Shagged Me, the sequel to the original Austin Powers, where Austin Powers and Heather Graham's character had a nice little dance to Burt Bacharach's I'll Never Fall in Love Again, of course, performed by Burt Bacharach and Elvis Costello. Now, if you're looking at all this brick and mortar, which is actually wood, foam rubber, and fiberglass, you might not know it, but truly we are able to make things look just like the real thing. That's kind of our trade here in Hollywood, is making you believe. Again, it's all part of that suspension of disbelief. But yeah, we can't actually build things out of real building materials. It would be way too cost prohibitive. Also, by the way, there's kind of a fluid nature sometimes in the back lot, depending on the creator's vision about what they want. So we like to be flexible, like to build things on the cheap so they are able to tear down and rebuild for whatever that might be. And I just mentioned creator, and there is one creator moving forward, folks, that you should be aware of. He's arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest director of all time. Some of you might even be wearing a t-shirt of one of his movies. We're talking the one, the only, Steven Spielberg.
When I was about, 16 years old, I began hanging out at Universal during my summers. When I went to college nearby, I continued to come on the lot and try to become a director. So Universal sort of is my birthplace. This is the place I consider my first home, and I love it here, and I keep coming back.
Here's a fun fact. Making movies is hard. Making movies that make money is even harder. But making movies that transcend language, generation, and truly become international pop cultural phenomenons is close to impossible. But Steven Spielberg has done it time and time again throughout his over a century, half a century, I should say, of making movies. We'll definitely mention him a few more times on the tour, but so at least you are aware of Steven Spielberg. But we've not only worked with Spielberg, we've also worked with this guy that I want to introduce you to. I mentioned his name earlier. He's got a soft spot for hobbits, giant hairy apes, and he truly is quite a master. He's the writer-director of the Lord of the Rings trilogy and his own version of King Kong, Sir Peter Jackson.
It's the original King Kong, but they want to direct movies. I saw that movie on TV when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I wanted to become a filmmaker. I make films that just take you away from your real life and sweep you up and finish. Kong literally does that.
Kong literally does do that, Peter. Now, folks, it is literally time to get on those 3D glasses because we have literally entered Skull Island.
Glasses on, everybody. We're back to Skull Island.
Glasses on, put them off somewhere more comfortable. You won't need them until the very end of the tour, and don't worry, I'll let you know when that time comes. But for now, you should know that King Kong 360 3D is one of the most advanced ride systems in the entire world. Truly a first of its kind. You see, it was projected on some of the world's largest digital 3D screens, 40 feet tall, 180 feet long, and was developed by the geniuses over at Weta Digital, the New Zealand-based effects company co-founded by Peter Jackson. Now, they've won over 5 Academy Awards and have worked on films like King Kong, obviously, both Avatar films, the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit trilogies, and many, many Marvel projects. Isn't that right, Your Majesty?
I thought with a project like the studio tour, the audience is in the middle of the environment. They're looking in all directions, there's creatures coming at them, they're seeing Kong from this side and T-Rexes from the other side.
Working on a movie, we always know what we're doing. We're looking straight ahead and have the shot of what we're working on. We have to take into account that people are looking in all directions. Also, one of the things about this ride, unlike the movies that we're used to working on, there's no cuts. Because it's one giant shot, this tram that's driving along through Skull Island is where the camera's from. This ring represents where the screen is 10 meters away. We're really creating about 50 minutes of a feature film. That amount of visual information, that number of pixels, and presenting them to the audience, it's a hell of a ride.
Hell of a ride indeed. Now, you may have noticed during the ride that we lost one of our tram cars. You know, the 5th tram car that you probably didn't notice but was totally there the entire time, which actually had Peter Jackson, his family, and other members of the Weta Digital team animated inside of it. So wherever they ended up in the jungles of Skull Island, I think they'll be just fine. Point is, anytime you see a vehicle on screen, it's what we call a picture car, and wouldn't you know it, here we got some picture cars for you. Now, up top from one of my personal favorite films, American Graffiti, the film George Lucas made right before changing the entire cinematic landscape with the first Star Wars. We got John Milner's 1932 Ford Deuce Coupe. We got Magnum P.I.'s Ferrari, followed by a few more personal faves, Biff's 1946 Ford convertible from Back to the Future, and a couple selections from the distant future of 2015. That's from Back to the Future Part 2 from 1989. We got a 1935 Chevy from Public Enemies, taking things back to the Stone Age. We got a few from the live-action Flintstones movie. We got the Ford Anglia from Harry Potter, the Willys Coupe from The Fate of the Furious, a couple from the Jurassic franchise, of course, a couple from the films of Jordan Peele. We have the Fry's Electronics van from Nope, and the Wilson family boat from Us, and at the very end, we got a few military vehicles from the first Transformers movie. Now, the gyrosphere from Jurassic World, some of you Raptor Ride guests may have noticed, is missing missing its glass casing from the movie, but that's because they added that in later, using CGI or computer-generated imagery, another tool from the bag of tricks I mentioned earlier. Now, Jurassic World is in fact Universal's highest-grossing film of all time, but I'd be remiss not to talk about the 1993 Steven Spielberg directed masterpiece and inarguably superior film, in my humble opinion, that started it all.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Which just celebrated its 30th anniversary, yet feels as fresh as the day it was released. Jurassic Park. In addition to being an objectively awesome movie, Jurassic Park also happens to be one of the more significant films of the last 30 years, because it marked the first time that filmmakers were able to harness the then very new technology of CGI to fully render realistic, much less extinct characters with the dinosaurs. A true watershed moment in the history of cinema. Oh, and speaking of shedding water, do look out for some featured extras, folks. We never got the memo about filming having wrapped nearly 30 years ago and not getting up to the Either way, before we met those disgruntled actors, you may see a long camouflaged bus-looking vehicle, and that was the mobile lab, which they dangled off of one of our parking structures to create one of the more harrowing sequences from the sequel of Jurassic Park, The Lost World. Ay caramba, after all that dino action, I could certainly use a break. Como se dice, una siesta, you might even say. And wouldn't you know it, folks, we'll get just that as we roll on into our old Mexico set here on what a lovely, gorgeous, sunny Southern California day here, winter time. But, you know, we're talking about the tools from the bag of tricks that filmmakers use to suspend disbelief, create a story. And here we are in old Mexico, and we're setting the scene for you. Okay, we have sound effects as well as what we're going to call in-camera practical effects. And those practical sets are the set, this hacienda south of the border. And the practical effects, in addition, are the actual rain effects. And we have, of course, the sound effects, otherwise known as Foley, the lightning. We've got the thunder flashing, the lighting effects. We're setting the scene here, creating suspense, tension. Mexico is known for its flash floods. Is that going to happen to us? Who knows? Do tram cars 2 or 3 have anything to worry about in particular? Who's to say? But folks, that's drama. That's storytelling. And we have set the scene here. In old Mexico, the rain, the sound effects, and now the suspense, the tension, and of course now, the climactic finish. We flash flood. Look out, tram cars, Dozer Trace. Oh, lo siento. And of course, that is our flash flood, and that effect was created using thousands of gallons of recycled water, and an example, again, of what is called in-camera practical effects as opposed to CGI. Sometimes there's just no beating the real thing. Now, my fellow millennials may remember that was used in the early 2000s comedy Big Fat Liar, starring Frankie Muniz, Amanda Bynes, and Paul Giamatti. You cannot run the wolf, kid! Yeah, we'll see about that. Hang on, funny folks! After all the dinosaurs and flash floods, I could certainly use a vacation. And I know just where we could go. How about Amity Island? You know, Amity means friendship. And I know what you might be thinking, but Ryan, Amity Island, don't they have a shark problem? And yes, to be honest, they had a great white shark problem back in the mid-1970s. Several people died, it was really bad. But that's all in the past. My good friend George, he's a diver, and has assured me there are absolutely no more sharks. Okay, that is a literal shark. Give me a second here. George, get out of the water, there's a shark, bro! This is not looking good for George. By the way, George, nicest guy ever. Here's a bit of trivia. diver takes a lot of guts. And there we are. Wow. Okay. I guess I just lost my friend. But hey, we've all gained these barrels of gasoline. Cool. Look at him go. The beauty, the grace, the talent. Also the only shark capable of jumping up in the air 4 times in a row in a rhythmic fashion and not throwing up after consuming an entire human being. Truly impressive. Good job, Bruce. Hey, and you know something? At least that shark works. Speaking of which, Jaws. It is a fact. Jaws is one of the greatest films in the history of cinema. Also a fact, it had one of the worst making of experiences in the history of cinema. So get this, 27-year-old Steven Spielberg, repeat that, was 27 when he made Jaws. It was his second movie, and on the first day of filming, the shark sunk to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. And things only got worse from there because they were filming on the Now, if you're not aware, filming on the open ocean is not common, nor is it recommended. Mainly because the shifting of the tide and the horizon line makes continuity of shots in the editing process a nightmare, but also the cast and crew got seasick left and right, not to mention the salinity of the salt water got into the mechanism of the shark, making it truly a nightmare to make this cinematic classic come to life. But despite all that, despite it being cursed from day one, Jaws has a very happy and extremely lucrative ending. But here's Steven Spielberg and other members of the cast to tell you just how bad it got.
That's a much maligned shark. The shark was frustrating. It didn't really work all the time. It didn't work hardly at all.
Wherever you were on the island, you could hear the radio links. They were always saying, the shark is not working. Repeat, the shark is not working.
We just waited around. We just waited and waited.
The shark worked well enough. For a while there, it had the biggest hit of all time. So I really owe the shark a lot.
Yeah, he definitely owes that shark a lot. Arguably his entire career, because even though the making of Jaws nearly broke young Steven Spielberg as a filmmaker and more importantly, as a human being, it did not. Jaws became one of the biggest films of all time. Steven Spielberg, one of the greatest, if not the greatest director of all time. And I'm going to rhapsodize here for a second about Jaws because it truly is one of the most important films ever released by the studio. Not to mention one of the most important films ever made. There truly is an industry pre-Jaws and there's one post-Jaws. It basically invented the idea of the modern summer blockbuster as we know it. But it's crazy how it almost didn't happen at all. Because like Richard Dreyfuss said, the shark wasn't working. However, that created a happy accident which reverberated and created one of the more iconic aspects of Jaws. You don't see the shark for like half the movie, but see, therein lies its power, because psychologically, as the audience, you are put into the minds of the people being terrorized on Amity Island, who don't know what lurks beneath the surface, and so a sense of dread is stirred within you, so then when you do see the shark, it hits you that much harder. And it's easy to take for granted today, but for audiences in 1975, that was a new kind of scary. People really had never experienced anything like it before, and proof is in the pudding. It became the highest grossing film of all time, until Steven Spielberg's best friend George Lucas released his aforementioned space opera, Star Wars, 2 years later. Now, we got more picture cars here for you. They're pretty cool. We got a couple Mini Coopers. One belonged to Austin Powers, one belonged to Mr. Bean. We got Bumblebee from Transformers. We got a Decepticon police car and a smattering of souped-up rods from the Fast and Furious franchise. But none of that matters, folks, because we are rounding the corner. into what should be considered a World Heritage Site because it is one of the oldest and most infamous sets still standing in all of Hollywood. And that is, of course, the Bates Motel from Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 thriller landmark, Psycho. Now, say what you will about Norman Bates, there's a lot to be said. Mama's boy, murderous psychopath. I've heard them all. But you know what? I just think he's kind of a shy guy, kind of awkward maybe, you know, runs a small town, mom and pop, emphasis on mom, business, trying to compete in an ever-expanding hospitality space. You know, he's got Airbnb, Hotels.com, chipping at his heels, and it can't be easy. Not to mention, he just lost a loved one. He just lost his mother. But you know what? Despite all that, look at that customer service. He is literally carrying that woman's limp, lifeless body and placing it into the trunk of a car. Okay, Glenn, be honest with me. Do you think he killed that lady? Yeah, me too. I think it's time to go. Bye. Now, all joking aside, Variety magazine recently ranked Psycho as the greatest movie ever made. And say what you will about that sterling ranking, but I think it does speak to the power that Psycho has all these years later. It really did raise the bar for what audiences were capable of experiencing when it came to a thriller or, you know, a quote-unquote scary movie. And the psychosexual themes explored by Alfred Hitchcock with the Norman Bates character. Does he love his mother? Does he hate his mother? Does he want to be his mother? And the fact that it might be all of the above continues to chill audiences to this very day. Truly one of the best ever. Now we leave one disaster area and we've entered another, the plane crash from Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds. And just in case you're wondering, yes, that is actually a real Boeing 747 airplane on your left, which used to fly thousands of feet above us in the skies before it was decommissioned and bought by the production for $60,000. But get this, it took a week, as well as an estimated additional $20,000 to ship it from an Air Force base less than 100 miles away from where we are currently sitting. They always get you on the shipping and handling, don't they? Now here's production designer Rick Carter and Steven Spielberg to tell you a bit more about it.
The airplane crash site set is a perfect example of a set that is all designed around the vision that Steven had.
And forget to sit down and talk about War of the Worlds. I thought, what if the 747 goes down the right in a big dinner? Because it's just something you don't see.
You're doing good. You're doing good. Keep pressing me. Listen, listen, I want you to close your eyes, okay? Now I'm closed. Robbie, get in.
Ya nos falta como un poquito más y ya. Esta y luego la Fast and Furious y ya.
Now, he may have gotten in, but it's time to get out. And speaking of which, Get Out, the Academy Award-winning film written and directed by Jordan Peele. He, of course, is one of the best filmmakers working today, and here he is to tell you about his latest spectacle, Nope.
Movie magic only happens when a team of collaborators, often in the hundreds, work together to take an impossible notion and bring it to life. This is Jupiter's Claim, the nostalgic, small-time Southern California amusement park owned by former child star Ricky Jupiter Park. Over there, look into the winking well and have your picture taken just like the kids in that old 90s movie Channel. That's what this whole place is loosely based on. Remember that one? No? But a little further down, you can see the brand new Star Lasso experience. It was to showcase an unbelievable new live show. So live. Anyway, behind this Hollywood fantasy of a gold rush frontier town lies a sinister secret. Smack dab in the center of the hotspot.
you're thinking, did I miss something? Nope, that's it. Although, to be fair, if you've seen Nope, it makes way more sense, and you totally should see Nope, as well as all the other films of Jordan Peele's, because since the humble beginnings of his Comedy Central sketch show, Key and Peele, and with the release of his 2017 film, Get Out, he has established himself as one of the most gifted and exciting writer-directors working today, and in an era of sequels, reboots, and remakes, he has distinguished himself as a filmmaker willing to take risks on original stories, and that certainly is very important. He's certainly a filmmaker to watch. Now, I have been yammering on about the movies all day, but it is now time to put you into the movies. So, here's the plot. One of you is a witness, and I'm not going to name names to protect the innocent, but one of you witnessed international criminal Owen Shaw and his illicit activity. Now, he's trying to find you, but luckily, Len and I got some fast, and you might say furious friends who can help us. Here's our buddy Roman. He'll give you the whole 411 on what's going down.
My name is Roman Pierce. Pleased to meet you. My buddy Hobbs asked us to stash you with Shaw for a while, so we brought you in our secret spot. We're having a few friends over, it's a little messy, but it's all good, the more the merrier. Especially you right there in that third row, like I was saying. So look, see over there? That's Hobbs' urban assault vehicle. Best truck the U.S. government can buy. That work of art back over there was made by my man Tej. Think of it as like a Mona Lisa on wheels.
So did you break it down to them?
What's that?
You had one job to do, Roman, one. All right, look, guys, we're gonna keep Shaw from finding you, but to keep you safe, we need your help. We don't want the syndicate tracking us here, so put away your cameras and turn off your cell phones. One flash or one ringtone can give us away.
I need y'all to take this real serious.
Okay, pull into the next bay and we'll meet you in there.
SpongeBob hoodie in the back of Tram Car 1, but hey, we need to take this real serious. But first, it's time to party!
Roman Pierce, FBI, don't move. Neil, that's right, party's over.
You know how long I took to iron this shirt, man? I'm not...
You're under arrest right now.
Ladies, just back up a little bit. I got it. It's lightweight. First of all, I don't work for you.
Oh, really? Well, tell me, Roman, who do you work for?
We don't work for nobody. I suggest you clear out of here, otherwise we can't guarantee your safety.
Guarantee my safety? I'm the one holding the gun.
Yeah, but mine's a whole lot bigger than yours. Hobbs, escort this novice out. Let's go, Cookie Puss.
You got an ugly suit on, man. It's cheap.
Somebody out there really pissed off Shaw. It's gonna get ugly fast.
Yeah, don't worry. Lucky for you, our whole family will protect you.
Are you kidding me, Roman? You didn't shut off your phone, bro?
I gotta call you back. I'm in the middle of...
See what I'm talking about?
Call you back.
Man.
It was on vibrate.
Shaw traced us. Hobbs can't hold him forever. Letty, Roman, we're up. Driver, move that vehicle.
It's about to get real interesting. My Mona Lisa's all warmed up right next door.
Roman, grab your truck. I need you and Letty ready to roll.
All right, party people. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got a feeling things are about to get real fast, real furious, real quick. So get those reading glasses on right now and hold on tight.
You know, it's crazy out there. You guys ride hard. Respect.
You know, my Mona Lisa got messed up a little bit, but it's all good. We got through it. Y'all held us down. Appreciate it.
They say the bigger the family, the stronger it is. You guys did good out there. And you're welcome to join our crew anytime.
Aw, thanks, Dominic Toretto. Well, you know what that means, folks. We're family. Yeah, you feel that, fam? That's what they call main character energy. Now channel that and gaze once more outside the right-hand side of the tram, taking in one of the most beautiful views in the greater Los Angeles area and contemplating the art that you just completed. And with that, we have nearly completed our tour together. But before we wrap for the day, there's just a few people I need to thank. First, thank you to His Majesty King Kong for saving us from all those dinosaurs and large spooky spiders. Thank you, Your Majesty. Thank you to Jaws for not eating anybody. Huge victory for everyone, especially going into the holidays. Except for my friend George, of course. That was a gruesome and violent death I witnessed, and I'll address that later in therapy, don't worry about it. Thank you to Dom and his crew for saving us from Owen Shaw. Clutch move on their part. And hey, speaking of ace driving skills, please give it up once again to our intrepid driver, Glenn, for getting us around the lot safely and with style. Thank you so much, Glenn. But most of all, thank you to each and every one of you for joining us here at the world-famous Universal Studios Tour. Why are we world-famous, you might ask yourselves? Well, it might have something to do, folks, with the fact that we predate the theme park that you know and love by about 30 years. We started giving tours of this place in 1964, but we did not build the first rides here with the theme park until the early 90s. So we certainly are a legacy act here. We'll be celebrating our diamond anniversary. That is our 60th anniversary this coming March. So thank you so much for allowing us to continue on with this rich legacy. Hopefully I was able to shed some light on, you know, all the history that we have here. Give you some things to think about. Either way, it has been a pleasure guiding you through these studios of Universal. I've been Ryan, he's been Glenn, folks. Have a very happy holidays. Happy 5th night of Hanukkah to my chosen friends. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Festivus, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever it may be. Have a safe and blessed 2024. Do me one more favor. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have the time of your lives. That's a wrap.